Hello, and welcome to Sheer Fucking Hubris, podcast started by three buddies, three Star Trek fans who watch episodes of Star Trek each week and then proceed to talk about it. I am Joe Bob. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Willie.
Oh. Been a while.
It was just a turbo lift ride, but that was the longest 17 seconds of our lives. And also a Biblio Warden.
Yo.
All right. Thank you for the enthusiasm, sir. This week,
I'm counting on you guys to pep me up because, yeah. Anyway, so this week
I was slamming some Gatorade G0. Thank you very much. I don't know why. I thought the appropriate time to do it was during intros, but
I caught you off guard when I did the same intro I do every week.
That's right.
So this week we watched some Star Trek. We watched an episode from each of the newest seasons, that being season 2 of Strange New Worlds, season 3 of Picard. Plus, we watched a classic DS9 episode. How are you gentlemen doing, and how was your Star Trek viewing experience this week?
I'm doing okay.
I'm doing well, and my viewing experience was enough for a Hall of Fame average.
You got 1 out of 3?
No. We'll get to it. I think I may yet surprise you, gentlemen, as we go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so we watched the 3rd episode of Strange New Worlds and Picard. That being tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and 17 seconds. And then we watched the Deep Space Nine classic. I don't recall the name of the Magnificent Ferengi.
Yes.
So do you think that was a play on the Magnificent 7 or Magnificent 8 or whatever it was?
I mean,
I think most
I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
Okay.
Especially the way they counted each time they got another one.
Well, I didn't. I guess I forgot that Ferengi was both singular and plural. So, when I first started watching it, I was like, "This is obviously, this is a Quark episode." And then we started getting more and more and more. I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess technically, Ferengi is also plural." So, but
I think the singular is Ferengus, like dingus.
Oh man. So, which one are we going to talk about first?
Well, let's start with Star Trek Picard. Season 2, episode 2. 17 seconds.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Oh, yeah. No, we're good.
That's perfect. Perfect. Right. I want you to recap it in 17 seconds.
Okay.
But headings are on Wednesdays. There you go.
Fight in the nebula. Riker's in charge. Picard killed us all. The end.
Pretty well.
Sheer fucking hubris.
You left out the CGI rewinding 20 years off of Jean-Luc and Will.
Well, I left out quite a bit. Yes, for 17 seconds.
What is it with TNG writers and nebulae? I feel like whenever
Star Trek.
I was gonna say whenever Star Trek needs to disrupt some of the plot devices, they put them in a nebula.
Well, I mean, yeah. If you think about it, there are a lot of them in space. They add visual interest because regular space is boring. And And yeah, you can basically, we know so little about what they do, what's in them, that you could make them do whatever you want them to do. So
I guess I just meant that it was. I feel like it's a little tried, and all at this point, it's a little overdone.
It's a
I
plot
mean,
device, but I mean, yeah, it's tropey. I don't know what to tell you.
But
Other than
I,
you're
didn't-
right.
I didn't have a specific issue with it. It was just every time a nebula shows up in an episode, you can damn well be sure somehow we're going to wind up inside of it. It's going to be disrupting our sensors, and we're going to have to get crafty.
well, yeah.
Right. I mean,
Excuse
yes.
me.
Familiar territory, I guess, is all I'm saying.
Well, there's plenty of unfamiliar territory in this one.
Boy, howdy, was there.
So we start off, we're still at Red Alert in the nebula. Starfleet officers, as they do in modern Trek, are being very professional, looking at their new passenger saying, "This is all your fault." Like, fuck you, just do your job. But Jack and Beverly are working in the infirmary, trying to help. And then we're like, let's take a flashback away from this interesting thing. And we see a de-aged Picard and Riker from 20 years prior in Guinan's bar, I assume. Riker.
Mm-hmm.
I liked this scene pretty well. Other than the uniform, which was really weird.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nitpick. But it was like they were trying to evoke the DS9 and First Contact uniforms, but change it up just enough. We apparently go through a lot of uniform changes between the end of DS9 and now.
I mean, you can replicate him. It's not like you've got Vietnamese children stitching them together anymore.
You might. We've never. Well, I guess we have seen them being made on Discovery.
That's what a replicator is. It's actually a Vietnamese child, like in a little cabinet, putting things together for you.
Hurry up, short round. Earl Grey. I make it for you, Dr. Picard.
Oh, jeez. That's quite the mashup.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
Kidding, short round's not Vietnamese. We all know that.
No,
Yes.
he's not.
Harrison Ford's not. That would be cool. I guess that would make more sense if they had replicators in the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, that's an Ugnaught, though. They're the Vietnamese of the galaxies a long time ago. Far away.
Yes.
I hope we don't have any Vietnamese
Anyway.
listeners.
Yeah, let's not be on into one tonight. Moving on.
Anyway, if I could just put the racism on the back shelf for just a minute. We can always come back to it.
Well, that's new. Talking about new territory.
It's our nebula.
Oh dear God.
So this was a touching scene. Now that we've, this is where the name of the episode comes from. Riker talks about the 17-second turbolift ride.
Jesus
and they're
Christ!
like, Captain, you got to calm down here. Because Riker wasn't there with Deanna when she was giving birth.
I have a number of children, and I can assure you that if you're just a turbo lift ride away when your wife's in labor, you are the world's biggest dickhead for not being there. What could possibly have been, especially if there were complications involved, apparently. But oh boy. I guess maternal survivability hasn't improved much in 400 years either. 300 years.
It's better than the Star Wars universe.
Well,
Thank
that's
God
true.
Deanna still had the will to live.
Yeah.
That's a Riker pun.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I don't know if you got that.
So, 17 seconds.
And then she pops in and it's like, oh, you dickheads are having cigars.
Bitches him out. Yeah.
That was the most realistic part of the episode.
That really was. It absolutely was.
He's like, he could have been spending that time with his son, but instead he was spending it with Picard drinking.
and never had any idea that the silicon-based life form parasites were just biding their time, huh?
Well, could all been saved. Then we go back to the bridge, and Shaw and they mentioned something about biological and electrical impulses running through the ship that they never really did anything with, that I thought was really weird. And Shaw is just like, well, it's just Freaky Friday up here. What the fuck? And then he says, go on, get some rest, Geordie Jr. You've been at a 36-hour shift. And
she gets an hour break.
No, and OSHA somewhere shits a brick.
Oh,
like, 36 hours? God damn.
Do you remember on Men in Black where they're like, the twins keep us on like a 36-hour day. You'll get used to it, or you'll have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
I feel like that was nervous breakdown territory.
Yeah, but I assumed that 36-hour day was like only like maybe like 18-hour work days and then 16 hours off. But
yeah, I mean, you'd think. I mean,
a
why
36-hour shift? Christ.
Why even say? But that meant everybody had been there for practically 36 hours.
Yeah.
Why did she get a break? Except for Shaw, who was napping, in the last episode.
Well, and how the hell? I mean, shit. How many 80-year-olds do you know that can stay awake for like 3.6 hours, let alone 36 straight? Picard and Riker,
well,
they just kept right on chugging.
I don't know many 80-year-olds in goblin bodies, though. Maybe a little different.
That's true. We bring that up from time to time. It's so weird and out of place because they obviously
really
just want to kind of forget the first 2 seasons, but it's like every so often they take the moment to remind you that his body's synthetic. Oh, whatever. Then we get a scene, and this is probably, I guess this is kind of the core of the episode between Beverly and Picard, where Riker's like, hey, Jack, why don't we take away? He's like, whatever Mama says, she can say in front of me. I'm a big boy.
What a petulant little dick.
I know.
Read the fucking room, kid.
I know. And Beverly's like,
almighty.
Jack, get the fuck out of here. So he and Riker go stand in a hallway. They don't actually go anywhere. They stand in the hallway.
Where they're doing literal visual scans out the back rear view for this ship. Also,
I like that, by the way. I thought that was good.
I'm a little tired of the bah sound effect whenever the ship shows up.
Yeah, that's true.
It was okay the first couple times. Now it's kind of like, okay, come on. Like, we don't need this every time.
It's like they're trying to sell cough drops. Anyway.
So anyway,
as I was trying to say, this is an emotionally heavy scene between between Jean-Luc and Beverly.
Consequently, though, Beverly came off just only slightly better than Rafi in this scene. I feel like
she acted
it better, but she is full of shit at first.
This was a very well acted scene.
Yeah.
The only thing, at the end, she makes a decent point about how, like, every time she started to tell him, like, there was another assassination attempt on his life, and, like, she ultimately decided the only way to keep her son safe was to keep him away from Jean-Luc.
Right.
And she did at least tell him at some point and let him choose for himself. Even though I'm not really sure that's better. And Picard's got every right to be pissed. He's like, you took the decision away from me. She absolutely did.
Yeah.
It's not justified in, a mother protecting her child is not quite justification enough to do that to a guy, but you can at least see where she was coming from.
Yeah.
Unlike Raffi, who sucks. And you can never see where she's coming from.
We've seen a little bit of where she's coming from during these last couple episodes, though. With her strung out junkie Moss Isley place. but
I don't know. Fuck Raffy. Anyway,
Rafaela.
Rafaela.
Finally, we're going by the real name, which is only marginally less
She's
annoying
cool
than
but rude.
Rafi. Wow. Deep
Yeah.
cut. Holy shit. Hey, consequently, I was walking through Target yesterday I was supposed to be buying something for my daughter, and I bought a Teenage Ninja Turtles t-shirt instead
Well, yeah.
because and we didn't find what we were supposed to buy, but I really didn't want to put the shirt back, so I just found something else to buy so that it wasn't just me buying a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle t-shirt. See, that is parenting, by God.
Yeah.
None of this bullshit we saw on Star Trek. That was quality parenting.
Speaking of quality parenting, apparently, even though Wesley Crusher can go anywhere, anytime, throughout space and time, in a snap of a finger, he hasn't visited mom in 20 years. Which that sounds about right for that little shit.
But
she's like, Jack,
I
my
lost
husband
Jack.
left me. My
Lost
son's
Wesley.
gone. I didn't want to lose Jack the second. And while they're talking, Riker is out there with Jack, and he's just giggling at him because he's like, "You're just a spitting image of your daddy." And he's like, "Quit!" He says, "Quit looking at me as a science experiment." He's like, "You are though. You are a science experiment." He's like,
7-year science experiment.
He's like, "For 7 years, I've watched Picard slip that D right around and finally into your mama." I was like,
the gravity well finally took him.
This is a weird scene.
It was strange. This episode had a lot of strange moments. By the way, I went back and watched the ending of the previous episode.
Yeah.
Because when you said you're like and Shaw said the exact same thing I was thinking, which was, God damn it. I was like, he didn't actually say that. And I went back and watched it. He did.
Yeah.
He actually did it. So anyway. So kudos to you on remembering why Bailey skated by as PG-13.
There you go. So anyway, while this is going on, Picard also asked Beverly, like, "Do you know what the fuck is up with this bitch?" And she's like, "Nope, but I bet it has something to do with you." And she even said something about, I think at that point she says that somebody in Starfleet also must have ratted them out. So we get and I'm like, yes, I love the enemy among us trope. Not trait, trope. My favorite plot device. Oh, it's only better when they're like shapeshifters. But we wouldn't go there, would we?
We would not return to that well. What do they call that thing? They referred to it where they all had to gelatinize again and get freaky with each other.
The Great Link.
The Great Link, yeah.
Yeah,
we wouldn't dare draw off that Great Link again.
Well, we're still dealing with Picard and Beverly's own Great Linkage.
That's right.
So Picard is like, God damn it, I guess I should go back to the bridge. So he and Riker head back. And it's so weird because Will's like, hey, I know you want to go back to the bridge and all, but take these little moments to spend time with your son. I'm like, we're in the middle of like a life and death fucking situation. And his kid doesn't want to talk to him. He's also like 22. So
right.
He's acting like he's skipping out, like it's fucking Cats in the Cradle is playing in the background, and he's skipping out on fishing to do like a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know who wrote this episode, but I feel like it can't be the same person that wrote the first two. Could be wrong. Anyway, they get to the bridge about the time that Shaw gets flung across the room and busts his head open. He's like, you fuckers started this. You fucking clean up the mess. And he gives over command back to Riker. And he's like, all right, Jean-Luc, you take the helm because he's the best helmsman. I don't know. This is so stupid. And Picard's like, maybe you should call me number one.
Number one.
I'm just like,
Numero
who the fuck is writing this? Oh, by the way, Picard is like, so where did the accent come from? She's like, I guess it's in his DNA. She's like, no, dumbass. I sent him to boarding school in London. He's like, oh, that makes sense.
Oh, jeez.
I'm surprised I didn't have him like order Earl Grey in the replicator or something. So yeah, Riker's in charge of the Titan. Things are getting interesting, so let's slow it down and cut to Rafi.
Yeah. Who they're tailing somebody, her and Worf. And
well, no, not yet. She wakes up and is like, wait, who are you? She's gonna take a gun because obviously the rational thing to think when you were just about to be killed and you wake up and somebody's left a gun there and you're in a totally different place. I know, wait, you're back on your own fucking starship, so you should recognize it. Yes, go kill the person who brought you there. Rafi, you're a piece of shit. So she does, and she sees somebody doing his Tai Chi, and she's like, ooh. And he throws the dagger. I'm Worf, son of Moog, House of Martok, son of Sergei, banger of Jadzia, wielder of double dicks, and killer of Gowron.
Oh, man.
It was when he's like, would you like some lavender and chamomile tea?
Yeah, what the?
I have been, as humans say, working on myself.
I actually kind of loved all this. So
no, I'm not making fun of it. It was great. I hate that him and Rafi are teamed up because fuck Rafi. Anyway, and she's a bitch. God damn it. She's like, I had everything under control until you blew my cover. And he's like, you accomplished that yourself. It's like, yeah, of course you fucking did. Rafi? What do you mean you had it under control? You were strung out about to be beheaded. I told the guy you worked for a dude whose head he was keeping in his drink cooler. Fuck Rafi. She's like, why do I do this? Why do I risk my family and my life and my sobriety? And like, none of those are worth anything to me, Rafi. I don't care about your sobriety, your family, or your life. But I'm supposed to, because the writers say I should. But I don't. Anyway. Worf tells her that he knows who paid off the guy to lie. And he says, so we're going to track him down. We are now partners. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Rafi and Worf get together. Wouldn't that be a fun relationship? Fuck it. I don't like Rafi. I don't know if you guys know that yet.
Yeah. Well, you've definitely buried the lead on that one.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
Well, let's go back to the Titan, where Shaw's like bleeding and Beverly's trying to help, and the stupid ass doctor is like, I don't care that you were the chief of medicine at Starfleet. You don't know shit. Like, you bitch. You've got like wounded coming in. Like, maybe you should stop being an asshat. But
it's okay because apparently he had a delayed internal bleeding bomb go off. But Beverly knew what to expect, so she found it, right?
Seen it before. So I'm gonna say that because her and Jack have been having to do this stuff outside of Federation medicine, they've picked up some tricks.
Yeah, I can buy that. I'm not gonna criticize it. I mean, they obviously needed somehow to, jump in with both hands, right?
But Shaw at that moment looks at Jack and is like, how are they tracking us? And Jack looks at the blood and he's like, sharks. And he goes to Seven's room. Seven's like, why do people keep knocking on my fucking door?
I am confined to quarters. Oh yeah.
And
We've
the
already
security
seen
guy.
Jordy Jr. on her 15-minute break decide to go talk to Seven. Right? She's been awake for 36 hours. She could barely pull together a coherent thought.
And
she
that whole
decided
36
to
hours,
go.
all she was doing was rehearsing this speech that Seven shoots down in the first 30 seconds. She's like, this sounds rehearsed. Get the fuck out of here. She's like, I just mean that doing stuff for your friends is okay. It's good. You're all right.
My daddy would
Seven.
approve. And then like the Reading Rainbow sound plays in the background.
My daddy wasn't good with people. He tried to fuck a hologram lady, and she found out and got real mad. I wonder if that ended up being her mama. Because in All Good Things, he was married to her, and they had a kid named Sydney.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Anyway, the same security guard too that's posted outside her door both times is like, oh wait, you can't be in here. And Seven's like, yeah, fuck off. It's like, aren't you supposed to stop them before they come in? Like, what is your point being posted outside that? Anyway,
he's
and
got like a rocking chair and he's asleep outside like the quintessential Southern town cop.
I thought Shaw had reinstated her. Did that not happen when we told her he earned her post back?
That wasn't until she found the leak, right?
No, that was when she found Jack trying to beam away last episode.
Fucking who cares?
That's a good question. Who cares? The question is that Jack's got for is, you were a Fenris Ranger. Tell me about blood in the water. I'm like, okay, so those biological signals that are coming through are somehow tracking his DNA, something in his blood. And they're like, nope.
No,
that's nothing to do with actual blood nor biological. It's that we're venting baridium something. I don't know. So they go looking for a leak. And sure enough, they find it. And not only is it a leak, it was sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever caused the leak is here. And then whoever changed the computer's databanks is here.
Seven's like,
what we are looking for is here.
Yes. They flung their wooden shoes known as sabots into the cogs.
There you go.
Hence the term sabotage. Anyway, so they realize that this gas is poisonous, so, apparently it doesn't spread very much, though, because there's no, like, force field in place or anything. The door's just open. She's like, all right, you make sure you stand in this room with a very, very deadly gas while I go shut off the next one. And at that point, somebody comes in a Starfleet uniform and rips off Jack's mask, and Jack punches him in the face, and his face goes all mushy, and then
comes right back.
Because that never, ever once happened with the changelings up to this point. I'm okay with it. Whatever.
It was the Viridium.
It must have been. And Jack's laying there, and they act like it's going to be, very deadly, but apparently not, because he lays there for a while, and he has like this vision of Seven standing over him, telling him to connect the dots. There's like branches growing out of her. It was weird.
That was very weird.
And
yeah,
it also, not that we thought they were going to kill Jack anyway, but then they take him to sickbay, and I'm like, well, and they're like, we're losing him. I'm like, well, there was absolutely no point in showing the vision if he's going to die, so way to just remove any doubt of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
But Picard gets to take his 17-second turbo lift ride.
Mm-hmm.
We can beam motherfuckers directly to sickbay, but I guess that only works if you're beaming them on the ship. Can you not?
I will give it a pass in this situation because power.
The shit was busted. Okay.
Yeah.
You're such an optimist.
Yes, that's me.
Yeah.
Ever the optimist.
No, that's you in a nutshell. Oh, this is me in a nutshell.
Help, I'm in a bloody nutshell. How did I get in this giant bloody nutshell?
What kind of shell has a nut like this?
Willie.
It is my goal to never let you get through these because it's the only way I can remember what actually happened is to slow this down a bit.
Well, I think the next thing that happens is we actually cut back to Rafaela and Worf tailing the guy through Mos Eisley or whatever, and not Mos Eisley, more like Hanar Shaddaa.
I don't know what Hanar Shaddaa is. Was that in Rogue One?
Nar Shaddaa is the moon that the Hutts controlled. It's just like one big red light district.
Ah, okay. Well, reminded me of Rogue One, the beginning of Rogue One. But
yeah, it's definitely a Star Wars planet.
Yes.
Anyway, and Rafi's like, you can't sneak up on anyone in that warrior armor. He's like, this is casual. And
beheadings are Wednesdays.
I thought that was hilarious.
That was good.
Yeah, it was just like beheading's just a normal Tuesday for you, and he's like, beheadings are on Wednesdays.
I love him. I love him.
They do the worst fucking job of tailing somebody ever.
Yes.
During this scene. But
yeah,
that's okay because they capture him.
They capture him, and I can't tell if they were. I don't think they were doing good cop, bad cop. I think Worf is just chill, and Rafi's just a piece of shit. I don't think he was doing bad cop at all.
I thought initially it was good cop, bad cop, and then I started thinking the same thing. I was like, actually, I don't think this is a bit. I think this is just. I think this is just Rafi.
I was like, and I just kept waiting for it because I was like, I am convinced that this is just Rafi being Rafi. But I'll know because they'll make a joke about good cop, bad cop if it's really a bit. And they did not. Mm-hmm. Thus further confirming my theory that Rafi's a piece of shit. Anyway, and Rafi, being a drug addict, sees withdrawals, and Worf is like, no.
You won't hurt me. You're a police officer. There are rules.
Oh. God damn it, what is that from?
Oh, come on, man. Yeah, that's what my captain keeps telling me. That's what my sergeant keeps telling me.
Is that Die Hard?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Ho, ho, ho. Now I have a machine gun. God, that's a good movie.
Is really pissed. Anyway. All right. So the guy's a changeling, and he turns into this little pile of goo and tries to slink away.
They fucking shoot him. Oh, I love it.
Worf vaporizes him with extreme prejudice with a dinky little taser from Enterprise D that looked like a dustbuster. A miniature dustbuster. Those were always so goofy, I thought.
I thought so too. It wouldn't make any sense to be accurate with those ever. But
yeah. So we have now confirmed it is the changelings on both the Titan and with Rafi and Worf.
Yeah, and so then presumably
it smells like a conspiracy
in the Federation,
right? And Worf gives us some. He's like, "All right, I guess it's time for me to do a little brief exposition dump." And I was like, "I talked to a man of honor within the Great Link." Which is,
I wonder who that could be.
Yeah. Well, it ain't any changeling we've met other than Odo, because they were all just dicks.
Well, but this will be an interesting one because isn't Rene Auberjonois dead?
Yes, which is why he was not referred to directly, I'm sure.
And they're trying to reopen the Dominion War, and they're saying that the portal gun was a diversion.
Yeah.
And as I suspected, the weapon they didn't know what it was on the strike is also a portal gun. Let's talk about that.
Oh, let's talk about it.
Because Riker is now in charge, and he's like, let's get out of here. So he says, plot a course out. And they fire the fucking portal gun, and it comes right back in front of them.
It looked like a 1967 Batman episode.
It kind of did. I was just like, this is so fucking stupid. The projectile moves so slowly, but the Titan can't get out of the way. And so they try it again, and it's the same thing. Just right in front of them. And I'm like, this is so dumb.
It was so bad.
But Picard, okay. Picard, having gone through his 17 seconds, now he is an expert on the fear of losing a child. And so, Will trying to do the intelligent thing and get out of there, Picard's like, you're just afraid of losing people like you did your son. And Riker's like, Jesus Christ, John, that was 20 fucking years ago. Get a grip. It's like, I've been a captain, for 20 years since then. Holy shit. But Picard keeps on, and Riker tries the thing. It's obviously not working, and so Picard's like, fire everything we've got. And they shoot the portal gun, and even though the strike had the ability to shoot them with 4 billion photon torpedoes at any point, it's the 3 from the Titan that come back in on its own backside that really destroy, almost destroy it and send it spiraling towards the gravity well, and then...
Yeah, and then they just let it go, like, good enough.
Huh? Yeah. Yep.
So I got a question on this.
Hold on.
On some Star Trek canon.
Hold on. Can I just finish the recap? Because there's like literally one more line.
17 seconds left.
And it... Remember how the first 2 episodes, I was like, I really enjoy the interplay between Frakes and Picard. I really hated the interplay between Frakes and Picard in this one. Like, them bitching at each other was so forced. And then, when the Titan gets hit and it's going towards the gravity well, unlike every other Star Trek episode where they're like, okay, we gotta figure something out. They're on the fucking bridge in front of everybody. Riker just looks at him and is like, you just killed us all. Get off my bridge. And I was like, what? My brain just kind of, what did he say? Like, I'm not buying this forced...
Yeah. Like, all of a sudden, Riker becomes towing the company line.
Yeah, you just killed us all. Like, you're still the captain. I mean, I know that Picard made it hard for you to say no because he was being a dick, but you still ordered it. And, I mean, you've gotten out of worse situations before, but good pep talk for the bridge crew there when you just say, you just killed us all, mister. Like, what the shit?
So,
how did y'all feel? Okay, go ahead, Willie.
I've got a question about this. So, I assume, and I seem to remember hearing this at some point in time, photon torpedoes, because they're fired from within the shields, have like some kind of resonance. They're able to reflect, the shield so they can pass through them, right? So it would stand to reason that if somehow your own photon torpedoes are coming back, they would pass through your shields, right? And you probably wouldn't have enough time to, like counteract them, right? That's canon. That's been done before, right? That was nothing new. Like, we can believe that, right? How is there not like a kill switch on a torpedo, or like, are they not locked on to a ship? Like, I don't understand how they just went straight line, and then somehow we miraculously set the portal up exactly where it needed to go to shoot them right back at the Titan, and then for them to hit the Titan. I feel like I was asked to give a lot of grace in this situation, that those were going to just get, yo-yo right back and hit the Titan.
I think they
Because-
thought it would look cool and nobody would ask questions.
Because, like you said, we've got a bajillion other weapons on this thing. Why did that have to? Why was that what finally took them down? But
They wanted
anyway,
the irony of being hoisted by your own Picard.
okay.
Nice.
And so now we're careening off into the gravity well, and he's
Which,
killed
by
us
the way,
all.
is I guess you could say that's what happened to Beverly 20 years ago.
Oh dear Lord.
He got hoisted on her Picard.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, dick jokes aside.
How about knocking your girlfriend up on the last like farewell bang before you break up? Oh
I
boy.
know, right? Like, it's first of all, birth control is supposed to be pretty airtight back then. I mean, in the future, so like, there's not usually a lot of accidents. So one of them was not taking their birth control, and yeah, I guess that's how it went down. Picard, like, he just finished up. He's like, by the way, that was good, but this just isn't working. I'll see you later,
You think when
Beverly.
Picard orgasms, he says, "Make it so"?
Jesus.
Could be. Here comes the hot Earl Grey.
Oh shit!
God.
Oh
Okay.
boy. All right. So recap's done, right?
Recap is done. I guess word never got around to Picard that Beverly had a kid. Because I mean, I guess she left Starfleet like immediately instead of going to be to some other posting.
Yeah. Well, let's not ask too many questions like that. But
So, what did you guys think of this episode?
I think that we lost some momentum from the first two episodes.
I think it's still better than most of season 2,
Okay,
but
yeah.
was weird. It was a little weird.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think it goes without saying that everything is better than season 2.
I agree with that.
But yeah, it was just it was the pacing. This is one of the problems that season 1 and season 2 had was the pacing was real fucked up, right? We did a lot. I felt like in episodes 1 and 2, and then episode 3 took place over like 1 minute and 17 seconds. Like there wasn't a whole there was I don't know, just I feel like we're double dicking down a little bit too much on the technology to like show off all the different bombs and the tracking methodology and all that. And it was just I don't know. I felt like I felt like the episode spun its wheels a lot.
Yeah, I don't know that I had a problem with the pacing. I more had a problem with the characters. Like, I didn't enjoy any interactions really. Worf was good by himself when he was just talking, but I didn't really enjoy much of him and Rafi. Didn't enjoy Picard and Riker.
I thought the Picard Riker thing was very weird in general.
Hmm
I
The
mean,
Picard and Beverly conversation is probably, like I said, the heart of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, I enjoyed the first the Picard Riker flashback. That was good.
yeah.
But yeah, Jack and at 7 was weird. LaForge in 7 was weird.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I guess I just felt like what what happened other than revealing the traitor in our midst, which I know you love. What really advanced the plot of the season in this episode?
I mean, I guess it's that we know the enemies are the changelings, which, I don't know about you guys, but I'm just kind of like, I thought I was okay with being done with the changelings.
Yeah. Well,
Also, by the way, when you're being tracked by two operatives and you're being chased through dark streets, the ability to instantly change your form into something else is probably like the most valuable asset you could ever have. And I don't know why the guy tried to stay in that one form.
well, I think they did say that though, because he was like, if you've been away from the Great Link too long, you start to kind of lose that ability. I thought that Worf did make a comment on that.
Well, okay, that's fair.
I'm gonna give them a pass, kind of like you gave them a pass on something I've already forgotten about that I brought up earlier.
All right, fair enough. I don't know. What do you think, Warden?
The episode in general, I mean, you hit the most of the high points. As far as, I mean, the Picard Beverly thing was pretty good, but most of it was odd. I appreciate the fact that Seven apparently is a fan of Mozart, which is, cool with me. But yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I guess I'm having trouble just saying much because what's that? Of course, I have to sneeze in the middle of me talking. It's just kind of like you said, not a lot happened. I mean, there was the primary plot arc was basically the countdown to her the wacky woman shooting at him, and that was basically it. I will say I'm not 100% convinced that the changelings are going to be it as far as the bad guy is concerned.
What if the Daystrom Institute had like it's kind of like the CDC, like they had the one Jem'Hadar embryo left, and that's what they broke in to get, and decided to steal the portal gun as a. That's a pretty goddamn big diversion, you
I
know.
know, right?
I mean, oh boy, that was
But
like
I mean,
tossing the firecracker in the Crazy Eddie's trailer. I mean, it was. They went all out, but
Yeah.
but just my logic on that is that I mean, as this feels like a very, I mean, the first freaking episode was called the Next Generation or what? Well, no, not Next Generation. What?
no,
Yeah.
it was called The Next Generation.
Yeah, Next Generation. There's a definite flashbackness to this. So
Well, I assume the next generation was a reference to Jack. He's the next
Yeah.
generation of Picard.
well, yes, but it's also speaking to the fact that TNG has been just all over this season in a way that it was not really in the first two.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're referencing TNG, the changelings were not a TNG thing at all. So I just feel like there's a lot of room left um for another enemy to appear. Um I have a theory on who that's going to be, and it's going to be boring.
I wonder if it's the same person I'm thinking about.
What were you gents thinking?
I'm thinking that, can't be someone who's who would be working with the changelings. It would probably be someone who doesn't like, your standards, quote unquote, solid biological life forms. I'm worried they're gonna bring in lore or some bullshit there, because he at the Daystrom Institute. He didn't get destroyed, right? He got captured and taken off for study.
I believe so, yes.
And we've got to have Brent Spiner in this season.
Right.
And I could just see him being a big enough dick to go work with the changelings.
That's possible.
Who were you thinking?
I think they're going to have the Borg in this again. And it's going to be the actual Borg Queen. And that's how they're going to bring Girardi into this and have her be involved in this season, because she's going to be the good Borg Queen that helps them fight the bad Borg Queen.
Isn't she? No,
Because
no.
if
She
you
had to
think
jump
about
timelines,
the Borg are the TNG bad guys, and the whole Locutus arc and everything. If they're doing a Picard and a TNG thing, that's what they're gonna do in my head. So
I don't want to do any more Borg. We did
Borg
the
are
Borg in
everywhere.
season 1.
the Borg are everywhere.
The Borg are everywhere.
Breaking the fourth wall, Riker.
Can the Borg, could they assimilate a changeling? I assume not, but well, of course, I mean, yes, they could, because all you have to do is write.
Oh, you don't.
It's an assimilated changeling, so never mind.
If they do Borg shit, you don't suppose they're gonna do something stupid like Jack is a Picard, so he's also the offspring of Locutus crap, and that's why they're after him.
Oh, God, Gordon. Stop talking. That would be something. The next generation of Locutus.
Well, wow. I hope you were all wrong in so many ways.
I do still want to see the next episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's
it
still
hasn't
the
gone
best.
so completely off the rails that,
Yeah.
We lost momentum, but this is not my favorite, but it's still better than season 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
all of these shows had episodes that were like, what the hell? So I mean, I'm not losing hope by any stretch.
Nah.
But yeah.
Well, let's move on to another show that wants to pretend like season 2 of Picard never existed. So, Strange New Worlds, season 2, episode 3, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Oh, that's from Shakespeare. That's Macbeth's speech.
That's Macbeth, yeah.
That's the Sound and Fury. A tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing, which, by the way, could be used to describe most of New Trek. So we got another La'an episode.
Yes, we did.
This one deals with time travel, so automatically it's at the top of Willie's list.
Of course it is.
So we follow La'an through her boring day-to-day stuff and how she's security chief and an augment and nobody wants to be her friend. And it's all pretty pointless except for when she busts Pelia for having old art that she stole.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, I'm not sure this.
Although it is wonderful to learn that Spock is practicing his loot with,
such vigorous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't that his sexual frustration loot?
Actually,
Yes, it is.
That's what I thought.
Well, plucking the old banjo is a euphemism for.
Oh boy!
Just plucking the
Been
loot
there.
with vigor. Anyway, but the plot relevant point is that was when she bust Bella for having the hoard of stolen art. Like, well, I'm not sure this socialist utopia crap is going to work.
Which I enjoyed a little bit.
I did too. She's like, I used to keep a stash in a bunker in Vermont. You should remember that for later.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Excuse me.
on, she's frustrated by all this shit, and she's also not over finding out Una was an augment, and she's fighting with the doctor. And he's like, "You trying to take my head off?" And she's like, "Yeah, we're sparring. Shut the fuck up." And he's like, "Take a break. Doctor's orders."
Well,
So
no, first he's like, hold on, come at me one more time so I can beat you to Chekhov's body throw.
Yeah. Yes, Willie.
Yep. And then he says, take a break because I'm the ship's doctor.
So she takes a break and stumbles into a dude who has been shot by a bullet.
Yeah. Holy shit. It's a fucking bullet.
And he hands her a little...
a 3-piece in a suit from the Roaring 20s that we find was quite
actually
out of place.
21st century Canada.
Yeah.
Although, I guess it's possible he could have, because didn't the Romulan later say she'd been on Earth for a long period of time?
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible he didn't come directly from 2022, but he tells her to get to the bridge. They're heading for the bridge. And then there's a little flash of light. So she goes to the bridge and to see Captain Pike, but it's not Captain Pike. It's Captain Kirk. And
he says, pardon me, madam. Who the hell are you?
I like that.
I like that.
And then, they're at war with the Romulans. A very heavy Romulan theme in Strange New Worlds and Picard. Anyway.
No, but I feel like that was a very major antagonist of old Trek, right?
Yeah.
A mysterious one, yeah. Is in TOS especially, it was. I mean, that one. Now, of course, I can't remember it.
There.
But at any rate, until that one episode, they'd known of each other and even fought each other, but had not actually seen each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah. Anyway, sorry. Moving on.
Anyway, they get a hail from the Vulcan ship, and it's Mr. Spock. So all these things are telling La'an that something ain't right. And Kirk's like, tough luck, buddy. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, damn. La'an wants to talk to Kirk in private. And they go and have a conversation. I was glad that they...
Which, by the way, tactically didn't make a whole lot of sense, because if the Romulans were powerful enough to fight a two-front war against the Vulcans and the Federation, why would you think it would be a better tactical decision to not assist the Vulcans and put pressure on the Romulans on two fronts, or further pressure them on two fronts? They were obviously BFing everybody at this point. The Romulan Star Empire was.
Because it was more important to the plot for him to be a dick to Spock than to fight a war in this timeline. It's only going to last for 40 minutes.
17 seconds. Okay, you're right. You're right.
I'm glad that they got that 17 seconds out of the way early in the Picard episode, so you didn't have to wonder if that was like the amount of time it took Picard to get Beverly pregnant.
Jesus.
Anyway, we've already talked about that. When we edit the episode, that joke will go earlier.
There you
Anyway, I liked that La'an and Kirk, they didn't do this whole like I don't believe you thing, like try to arrest her or like there was no bickering. They just acted like adults and
go.
discussed
And professionals.
it. And
And
yeah,
by the way, I loved when Kirk was like, "Have you considered that you may just be losing your mind?" That made the whole episode right there. Oh, that was a great little. This episode was full of Easter eggs. I mean, just one right after the other. But that one was good. I appreciated that because that was essentially what Spock said. New Pike or
yeah,
future Pike or past Pike. I don't actually know how to say it right.
right.
But that was good.
So they Kirk's like, well, I think I should have the button. And Lon's like, no, he gave me the button. So they reach for the button, they accidentally push it, and whoop, they find themselves in the past. And Kirk's like, New
New
York
York
City.
City.
And La'an's like,
'Cause
that
it's
sign says
always New
Toronto,
York
dumbass.
It's always New York City.
And that was funny because it is always like, she's
Yeah.
like, that sign says Toronto, dipshit. He's like, well, I've never actually been to Earth, so fuck off.
Yeah. Never
He's
been
like,
to
wait,
Earth.
weren't you
Yeah,
born
I
in
was
Iowa?
born
He's like, the
on
USS Iowa.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, the Earth of my timeline is a barren wasteland. So
This guy named General Picard is slaughtered all the enemies.
well, and it was that was actually kind of the way he described it pretty much sounded like what the Earth was like on that Picard timeline. You know, it's like we have these. You know, you look up into the sky, you can't see sunsets, you just see clouds of ash and all that bullshit. But
It is a wasteland full of volcanic ash and dust. The very air you breathe is a poisonous fume. He went accidental Boromir. Anyway. So they're like, well, we got to blend in. That's rule number one of these time travel episodes. So they go to a store and they start trying on clothes and they come out and they look at each other wearing the exact same outfit. And they're like, well, one of us has to change.
Yep.
And they're like, we got no money to pay for this. And like, look, just watch this. And she slips something into somebody's bag to create a distraction. And they get back out that way. And they're like, but it's not going to work for everything. So we got to make some money. And that's when Kirk sees some old men playing chess. He's like, I got this.
Yeah.
He's like,
so
they're doing
he
it.
swindles them. Oh, jeez.
He's like, they're doing it in 2 dimensions. This is idiot's chess. Like, all right. I never really took Kirk for a chess player.
Well, but this is a different Kirk, right?
Right. But he plays chess for like 30 minutes and makes
enough
like,
money
right.
to buy a pretty fucking nice hotel suite.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, I'm like, oh wow, he made enough to buy 3 hot dogs, jumbo size. And then later it's like they're in the fucking
in a room with the
penthouse,
4
I'm like,
Seasons.
Yeah. Well,
like,
yeah.
holy
That
shit,
place
how
is
much chess
definitely
did he
not
play?
Yeah, that place is definitely not at the airport.
Fucking
Oh.
high-dollar chess. And then, like, Jesus, why didn't he just buy the car to drive instead of steal it?
You know what though? I loved how in time you know, time travel episodes, people steal a vehicle from like 400 years in the past. They automatically know how to drive it. I love that he's like, "What the fuck? How does this thing work?" And then you see him like lurching around the street trying to figure out how to drive it. Thought that was a nice touch. Like I said, this episode was full of little Easter eggs. I felt like, but
She's like, have you ever driven? He's like, only as a kid in the J.J. Abrams movies. Give me a minute. And Kirk likes the hot dogs.
yeah, so he buys him a third.
And La'an, I have no idea when this happens, but at some point she tells him her name, and he's like, cool. She's like, that doesn't ring any bells. It's like, nope. So La'an's really digging the fact that she can She doesn't
Except he
have
calls
to.
her Noonie and Soong, which I
Right.
thought was funny.
Yeah. So, let's see. So they buy hot dogs and they buy a hotel room with all the money he won. And Kirk does make the point of like, so if I help you fix this, my reality doesn't exist anymore. And she's like, yeah, I hoped you wouldn't think about that, but if
But
it
she
makes you
turns
feel
to
any
him by
better,
saying that
yours
his brother
suck.
alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
She
brother's
mentions,
alive in my timeline, so
yeah, she's like, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. She says, you could, but look at it this way. You were born to be an explorer. I've heard all the stories from Sam. And he's like, Sam's alive? And that kind of turns it on. They start to have a moment. And then all of a sudden, boom. Outside the window, the bridge blows up. And Kirk is like, oh, wait, I remember the bridge blew up in my timeline.
yeah. And I remember earlier when we beamed to Toronto, the front page news article talked about the cost overruns on the bridge
Yeah. And
of the
so
Toronto Times in New York City. So
it's the most popular paper in New York. And so
Must-
anyway, she's like, oh, get to the bridge. I fucked up.
yeah.
So like we should probably get to the bridge now. So they go, and I think Lon sees the debris because she borrows a camera from some onlooker, and she's like, this is a photonic bomb residue, which okay. We're stretching it, but okay, whatever. And Kirk, they're like, then they realize the wreckage is on the move, and we got to see that. So Kirk Vulcan neck pinches a dude, and she's like, what the hell was that? He's like, I was in a war prison. He's like, I also know how to make plum meat soup in the toilet. It's like, because he had a Vulcan cellmate. I thought that was great. And Han's like, all right, we have to be discreet. Kirk's like, discreet is my middle name. And she's like, Tiberius is not no. He's like, hey, Tiberius is my granddad's name. She's like, that is the least discreet thing ever. So what is Sam's middle name? Sam Eponymous
George.
Augustus Georgiou the Fourth Kirk. And he's like, no, his middle name's Sam.
Yeah.
Duh.
Everybody knows that.
Anyway, that's when he calls her Noonie and Soong. And she's like, wait, you don't know Noonie and Sing? And that's aha.
Yeah.
That should be that's a little tip off. That's what we like to call foreshadowing. Kirk's never heard of Noonie and Sing. So they get pulled over by the cops, and Kirk's, they're like, wait, you can't do this. We're white. And the cop's like, oh, yeah, that's right. And then the photographer is like, hey, why don't you go? She's like, I'm streaming this to my YouTube channel, you fascist pig. He's like, I don't have time for your shit.
Just get the hell out of here.
He's like, I am not going to be seen on YouTube arguing with a cute white girl because it's not going to go well for me. So just y'all fuck off and don't do this again. And that's when she introduces herself as somebody.
Yeah. Who cares?
Basically a conspiracy nut. She's like, the aliens are behind this. The JFK, the Tunguska, the Chernobyl, everything. And they listen to her, which makes her feel better. But she shows them pictures, and one of them is a bird of prey.
A very low-flying bird of prey.
Yep. Which, whatever. And then Kirk's like, oh, by the way, I remembered something else that I probably should have remembered like 20 minutes ago. But
Yeah.
Toronto was blown up by Romulans. There was a cold fusion device here. And Lon's like, that definitely did not happen in my timeline. So I think we might have found this piece of information. It's like, well, how do we find how do we find cold fusion? And she's like, I know a guy in Vermont. So they take more of the chess money and take a trip to Vermont. It was Vermont, right?
It was Vermont.
Yes.
Where they go find Pelala, and she's like, and
I'm not an engineer. I'm just a art dealer, pawn shop owner.
yeah, she's like, I used to work in the archaeology department. And she's in this little antique shop called the Archaeology Department
I
Antique.
love it. Love it.
With shit she's stolen from the Louvre. And she's like, look, I don't have time for your crazy cat lady bullshit right now. I know that you're a lanthanum, and how do I find cold fusion? She's like, I don't know. I'm not an
Fuck
engineer.
if I know.
Apparently she's a lot older than I realize. Because she's like, math? She's like, I haven't done that shit since Pythagoras invented it. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, well, you may want to brush up on that shit because you're going to be my chief engineer in like 200 years. But anyway, they figure out something about divers' watches. I don't know if any of this is. I didn't look up the science on it. It sounded cool, so fuck it, we'll go with it. So they put on the diving watch. They don't pay for it, but you know, then or maybe they do pay for it. Maybe they do pay for it because Kirk won like $1 billion playing chess.
Chess with old men on fixed incomes.
Yeah.
What a dick.
What a dick.
Hey, it's Canada. They're fine.
That's true. They did this in Toronto because in New York, Kirk would have been mugged and killed after that.
Probably. So after they make their watch, they head back and they start wandering around the
find the nuclear vessels.
Yeah, looking for in Alameda, the nuclear
across
vessel.
the bay. But they have a nice moment where she's opening up because he doesn't know that she comes from a long lineage of murdering bastards.
Yeah. And
gets a little smooch, and then the watch lights up.
Yeah.
The tritium cock block comes on.
Before Kirk makes a funny about not recognizing, she's like, it's like the Scarlet Letter. He's like, what is that?
Yeah.
Nathaniel who? He's like, yes, I know Hawthorne. And then they kiss, and it's sweet, but it's bittersweet for us because we're like, this isn't real Kirk, and it's not going to count.
Right. Yeah.
And they find the fucking place, and what is it named?
Yeah.
The Noonien Singh Institute for Cultural Advancement.
There you go.
Which I'm super confused about. Why is it named after Khan? I figured it'd be named after Sung, but I don't know. Was Khan's parents?
Well, that's what I was wondering. Because you got an Indian in Toronto too. I was wondering if maybe like Noonien Singh was like a doctor, and like all these children were just Khan Noonien Singh and James Noonien Singh and Joe Noonien Singh. Maybe that. Because I wondered that too, or if it was just they just named it that so you wouldn't have any doubt.
I don't know. Well, I guess it had to have been. I guess Noonien Singh must have also been a doctor because it was that DNA that let her open the door, right?
Yeah, it was a marker in her DNA.
It wouldn't make sense for Khan's DNA to be the one to open it if he was just the test tube baby. So it had to have been the genetic material from somebody that worked there. Anyway, and about that, once she opens it, they turn around and there's Sarah pointing a gun at him. and they realize that she is actually a Romulan time traveler trying to, I don't know.
Slow down Earth advancement so the Romulans can win the war.
Yep. And it's kind of like the Voyager episode where they're like calculating timeline deviations and everything. And she says that it's not always what you think would set people back. It turns out that the best way to slow down progress in humanity is to kill the genocidal maniac.
Yep. Is with the surgical knife, not the bomb.
So
basically,
this is answering the question of if you could go back and kill Hitler as a kid, should you? And the answer is no, because think about all the good things that came because of Hitler, which is a little bit weird, but okay.
Hey, what? A side note: when were the eugenics wars supposed to have happened?
1992.
That's what I thought. So we were in Toronto in like in the 70s.
No, we were in Toronto in 2022.
They make reference to the fact that they are re-retconning the timeline.
Okay, they did. Okay.
Yeah,
in this episode.
They said the Romulan chick says that they've done little things that change it and delay it. So they've made small changes to the timeline. But see, this is what I'm talking about.
She was going on about the fact that she arrived in 1992 to do this, and that things just kept getting, and that's why she'd been trapped on Earth for 30 years trying to do her follow through with her plan. So,
and that's why she was getting kind of batshit.
Yeah, but what I was saying about this show acting like Picard season 2 doesn't exist, Sung. So I guess at around this time, you've also got the Romulan Laris, or not Laris, on.
Yeah, that was 24, right? 2024.
But she'd been there a while. You've got Guinan. They're like tracking. You've got a Watcher looking for quantum changes. No, because she'd been there Renee's whole life, remember?
Right, I just meant that season 2 of Picard was supposedly 2024 when they went back.
Right. But you've had Laris, or not Laris.
Why couldn't they have gone back to 2025 and we would have gotten to see Rios?
That would have been great.
That would have been fantastic.
It's because the people that write Strange New Worlds didn't watch Picard season 2 because it sucked. They're like, we don't want this to infect our good show.
Maybe so.
Anyway.
It would have been cool if they had said something about like training for the Europa mission or something. Like in the headlines. Like final Europa mission crew
I'm surprised they didn't
selected.
Well, no, I'm not surprised they didn't throw that Easter egg in because I seriously don't think these people watched Star Trek Picard.
Yeah, maybe so. There were enough Easter eggs, though.
Yeah, and I can't blame them. And anyway.
So she goes in.
Well, first she shoots Kirk.
Yeah, which we saw coming.
We saw it coming, and he says, say hello.
There was no way Kirk was going to survive this episode, right?
No
way.
Because if he'd have gone back to, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. He would have ceased to exist. But they go through the security door.
They had the button. The button would have protected him from it, right? Well, that's what they decided.
That's what they kind of thought, but I think it would have destroyed. Well, but then there would have been 2 Kirks in the timeline, and it would have been all fucked up. And no.
Well, I mean, we all knew he was going to die.
Right. So Sarah kills a few more guards.
What are you going to do? Shoot me? He actually did it. Oh, that was great.
She is more the Scott Evil. She's the Scott Evil school of villainy. I got a gun. Bam. 1 shot in the gut. You're dead. So anyway, they head down towards the reactor, but they take a left instead of a right, and it shows up, and for whatever reason, it looks like a preschooler wrote "con" on the door, even though this is like supposedly this. Fuck it.
Child genius, yeah.
Well, no, I assume the researchers would have written it since it was locked from the outside. And they're gonna kill this tyrant, and instead Lon fights her and kills Sarah, and Sarah melts like a changeling or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
She hits a
It's a kill switch.
Kill switch kind of leave no evidence kind of thing. That's
Makes sense for an operative.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So she goes
Any-
in, she talks to Khan.
This ancestor that she hates, and she gets to see him as a child. And, decides not to kill him because she tells him that it may not make sense, but it's where you need to be. So he grows up to be a brutal dictator.
Yep. And you killing 100 million people is actually what ushers in the golden age of Earth.
Yeah, fuck those people anyway.
Which 100 million people, that's a lot of people. But if you think about out of 9 billion, that's still a lot of people. But don't get me wrong, it's still a lot of people. But it wasn't, I mean, what is that, like 1%
Yeah.
of the world's population? Well,
Yes.
again, still a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. Don't paint me a monster here, Patreons. But anyway, I was just trying to remember. I thought the number I always heard was 100 million people.
Yeah, that sounds right. But, and this is one of those paradox things where it's like, could she have even killed him if she had tried? Or would like the gun have jammed or something? Because obviously, if she kills Khan, then she can't exist to come back in time to kill him. So,
But she's exists outside the timeline, so presumably could have actually.
But it doesn't
The
matter.
device.
but the La'an that originally came back didn't exist outside the timeline. So,
This is why time travel episodes are great.
yeah.
So
I'm going to say she couldn't have killed him anyway, because then she would never have existed to go back in time. Even long enough to get the button that protects her from timeline changes. But, it doesn't matter. Point is, she chooses to let him go. And when she does, she gets to go back. The button turns from red to green, which means crisis
it's
averted, you can go back.
recharged. Yep. So she goes, checks on the bridge. The bridge is good. And then she sees Pelia there, and Pelia does give her a look. So you have to assume that Pelia, I mean,
Remembers her.
she would have to, right?
Right. She lets Pelia go.
Yep, she lets Pelia off
she
the
goes to the
hook.
bridge, and Kirk's like, "What do you think, Chief of Security?" She's like, "I think we can look the other way on this one."
Because for some reason, that's where you handle your disputes, is on the bridge. But
it's like a king in his court. He's holding court.
Yeah. But so they did.
She goes back to her.
There was a little look there, so you have to assume that Pelia, and it all kind of clicked into place, and
Yeah.
and then and you also have to assume, or I would assume, that Pelia's interest in engineering came from like that little exchange.
Yeah.
Right.
I assume that as well.
And she goes back. The time cop is there, right?
Time cop's there. I said, "You did good. Everything's back. And you can't tell anybody. You've seen a Romulan face to face, but no one else has. You can't mention that. You can't mention that you let Khan live." So.
But you go. Call your alt universe boyfriend and see what happens.
Yeah. She still got the driver's watch to be her
tether.
Yeah. She calls up Kirk and is like, yeah, I'm just doing a background check on Sam. Where was he born? Where were you born? He's like, Iowa. She's like, that's USS Iowa. He's like, no, that's Riverside, Iowa, United States. He's like, well, I tell you what, you want to know about George? Let me buy you a drink next time that we're in space dock. And we'll have a little talk about it. And she's like, I appreciate that. And then she closes it out and she just sort of breaks down crying. And you feel bad for La'an.
Mm-hmm.
It's been so tough, but she lets down the walls or something. We
Shaka.
get to see the softer shock when La'an's walls dropped. And that's how it ends. La'an is sad.
Oh man, what a good final ending there for you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, because normally La'an is such a chipper character,
That's true.
you know. So, what did you guys think of this one?
Warden?
Okay, I'm gonna go first because I have a feeling. I didn't have a problem with this episode. I actually liked it. I thought it was maybe not the best they've done, but I enjoyed it. It didn't make me want to kill myself like some time travel episodes do. And you know, and I thought when you focus on a single character, you need to do something interesting and move that character in some interesting direction. And I thought they did that. I mean, ultimately, it was a episode where she got to come to terms with who she is and where she came from, and they created a vehicle for that. They could have maybe done this or that to make it more effective, but honestly, I didn't. I mean, I actually did feel something when she cried at the end of the episode. I'm like, yeah, no, that's the exact right response to what you've just been through. So I had a, I thought it was decent. And I mean, I guess I'm trying to think if there's anything in particular else to pull out. But yeah, no, yeah, there were a couple parts that were a little herky jerky, but it wasn't too bad in those situations. Though I found that reference to cold fusion a little weird, given that there's not previously been reference to that in much Star Trek.
I think Enterprise references it.
Okay. And that could be then why because that's the weakest series for me by far. But yeah, no, that's so I was okay with it.
All
I
right.
mean, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst at all, and thought they were somewhat effective with what they were trying to do.
What about you, Willie?
Well, you know how I feel about trading off into a time travel episode,
I
right?
do.
Uh I fucking loved it. I had so much fun. Like I said, all the little Easter eggs here and there. Kirk chewed the shit out of the scenery. Um, I'm really getting to. I'm really starting to like the Kirk actor or the character who's playing him. Um, thought it was interesting that I guess it was towards the end of last season with the Run Silent, Run Deep recap. You know, Redux. Um, we talked about how this is Anson Mount's show, right? And nobody else really had a chance when he's on screen to really shine.
Mm-hmm.
And he's hardly been in this season so far.
That's a good point.
Um, and obviously, you can you can poke holes all in a time travel episode every which way but Sunday. But I had fun with it. I've always loved Star Trek 4. Even their outfits kind of reminded me
Yeah,
of that, and uh, you know, I thought it was kind of a. Usually, when you go back, you always prevent something from happening. Something terrible from happening that and you pat yourself on the back at the end of the day. Good, we saved the future. And I thought this was a pretty interesting take on it. Like you said, it was the whole if you could have gone back and killed Hitler when he was 5, would you have? And I thought it was an interesting take when it all usually the event that changes the future is a great leader gets assassinated or a technological advancement gets diverted or your astronaut gets too drunk and she can't make the space shuttle flight, right? This was one of the first times where the event that you had to you know uh, uh, ensure happened was a very terrible thing, right? So
but
I
that's
thought it
humanity, right? I mean, when you're honest about it, a lot of our greatest advances come after some of our greatest tragedies.
right. So I had fun with it. I mean, obviously, like Pelia is still a little. I'm still getting used to her, but overall, I mean, I had fun with it. I enjoyed it, and I think we've talked about this before. I know we have. I think Strange New Worlds is just a damn good TV show. Even apart from the fact that it's on the Star Trek backdrop, I just think it's a good show. I just thought it was a fun episode to watch. I would watch this episode again, um, if it was on, right? And if that's the litmus test that we use, uh, I thought it was a good episode. I thought it was better than
Hmm.
last week. Like I enjoyed it better than the courtroom. Um, so yeah, that's my recap. And I'm a tough sell on time travel, but they didn't really double down. I mean, yes, it was time travel. It was definitely a time travel episode. But I thought it was interesting how it wound up being a time travel episode with one person from each timeline
Yeah.
versus, where the ramifications of saving your timeline are just kind of unknown to you, right? Where this time it actually they even, like you said, they kind of address that. They're like, if you fix my timeline's gone. You
Yeah.
know, my hand disappears while playing Earth Angel on stage. You know, so
Is that
anyway,
a is that a Bill and Ted or is that a Back to the Future?
that's Back to the Future.
That's Back to the Future.
Well, playing on stage and time travel could have been either. I didn't remember the Earth Angel. Anyway, I
What, Joe Bob, what about you?
I didn't love this episode. It was fine. It the actor for Kirk has not grown on me yet, but I will say I did enjoy I thought that the two played off of each other well, him and Lon. Um, just the whole thing around genetic engineering and Khan, it's just so messy. I wish they'd kind of leave it alone because, like, you got Sung doing shit. You got the eugenics wars, which happened supposedly, but maybe they didn't until later. And I kind of wish they'd leave that alone. I agree with what Warden said in that it's an important on episode, and I guess I enjoyed the ramifications and the characterization that came out of it for La'an much more than I enjoyed the actual plot of the episode. The plot of the episode I just never really got into it that much. But I enjoyed the additional characterization for La'an, and I enjoyed the interplay between her and Kirk, even if it's not quote unquote the real Kirk. I don't know. I mean, it's not. I don't want to oversell it and say it was a bad episode because it's not. I mean, but as far as Strange New Worlds goes, it's probably in the bottom half for me. Maybe not, at the bottom, but Strange New Worlds is an awesome show, so that's not necessarily, um, you know,
A denigration.
yeah. It's just it was not my favorite.
Yeah. And maybe that's one of the reasons I liked it is because I don't like time travel episodes. And it was, for me, it was kind of like an Easter egg hunt. Like I said, I just
Uh-huh.
all the little things that they said, I just kind of appreciated the fact that they were at least acknowledging them, And
Yeah.
they're saying, "Hey, look, it's tough to do. Time travel's tough to do. Let's all just sit back and enjoy the next 50 minutes." And we'll make lighthearted about some of these things.
Right.
So
Fair enough. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 3, Tomato and Tomato and Tomato. So that did it for New Trek this week. We decided to watch one classic episode from Deep Space Nine, The Magnificent Ferengi. I picked this one, and I picked it because it's pretty fun, but B, we had watched Rocks and Shoals last week or the week before. And we all agreed that Kevon is such a dick.
mhm.
So I wanted you to get the next chapter in the Kevon saga and, leave you with
The
the,
final chapter in the Kevon
the
saga.
final chapter and leave you with the satisfaction of knowing he ends up with his corpse desecrated and basically becoming a meat puppet.
Weekend at Bernie's. Holy shit.
Not to mention the fact that he just dies so pointlessly. I mean, it just.
No,
With his final words being, I
I
hate
hate
Ferengi.
Ferengi.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I said the name of the episode is The Magnificent Ferengi. Season 6, I think it's episode 10, so it's like 8 episodes after Rocks and
Mhm.
Shoals. It of course revolves around them assembling a crack team of Ferengi to do a prisoner exchange to get Moogie back. Warden, I assume you had seen this one. I don't know how
Oh my,
recently.
yes. Not recently, but this is definitely one that sticks in your mind, if for no other reason than Iggy fucking Pop.
Who I loved in this episode.
Yes.
Look, once again, let me just say that the guest cast on Deep Space Nine is so phenomenal. And,
Mhm.
we talked about the visitor earlier, which is, the guest cast, a guest cast member carrying the show. This is a guest ensemble. I mean, you've got Quark. He's the only regular that's
Yeah.
that's in this
Well,
episode.
and Nog is not a regular, but he's a frequent guest.
Right. Well, yeah, you have
Yeah.
your recurring guests
Mhm.
with Nog
Mhm.
and Rom, especially, and then this is the third role I think we've seen Jeffrey Combs in
Mhm.
as Brunt, or maybe I don't know. Maybe we haven't seen him. Maybe we've only seen him as Shran. Have we watched a Wayun episode yet on this show?
We have not. He's only been referred to.
Okay. Well, anyway, Jeffrey Combs makes appearance as Brunt, who is a recurring guest character.
FCA.
What FCA?
Ferengi Commerce Authority.
Yes, yeah. The as Liquidator Brunt.
Mhm.
We get, of course, this is Kevon's second episode. Nog is a recurring character. Rom, recurring guest character. I think this is the only episode we get the Ferengi that's crazy.
Which one? The assassin?
The assassin, and it's the second one with Galen, cousin Galen in it, I believe. Second or third.
Yeah.
Quark's cousin, who was an arms dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Now Galen owns his own. And they team up and show why Ferengi should not be.
I love the holodeck, the simulation. I figured we'd kill her just to put her out of her misery. And you shot Boogie. Oh man.
Oh, and when Galen finally gets pissed at Quark, takes the shot at him and hits.
That's why you are
Kira.
Kevin. I hate Ferengi.
And all
I love
7 hit.
Dog sitting there. You just hear the tricorder going in the background. It's finally like, well, after all my diagnostic tests, I can officially say this man is dead. Thank you, Dr. Dog.
I mean, look, some of the stuff's a little bit flimsy. Like, I don't think Starfleet would have handed this critical prisoner over to them. I think this is the one where they're crawling through the ductwork, right? The Jeffries tubes, and end up in Cisco's room.
Cisco's office. Yeah.
And they just kind of look. I'm like, oh, I would think that'd be probably a little bit better secured, but and the whole the body's it's just like engineering, like, but it doesn't matter because it's fun. It's a fun little episode. I enjoy the interactions between Quark and Iggy Pop. I don't know. So, Willie, was this your first time seeing it?
I have seen this episode before, and I remembered it. Most of it, there were obviously like some of the dialogue and things I'd kind of forgotten, but I had seen this episode before, and I did remember how it ended. But it was still a fun rewatch. It'd been long enough that for all intents and purposes, I didn't remember the details, right? I just kind of remembered what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I feel like the Ferengi are a fun race in Star Trek. That when you get to explore them a little bit, that like it reminds me of the bureaucracy in Futurama, right? Or the bureaucrats. Like I have fun, like how they're the butt of jokes when it comes to money, and like he's telling the story at the beginning, like I'd forgotten about him, like telling the story about how he secured cases of syrup, and then he gets cockblocked by like real heroes coming back, and Odo's giving him shit about it. It was a fun episode. I had a lot of fun with it, and of course, like I mean, they kill a prisoner, and you said they desecrate his corpse, and then they just leave him walking up against the bulkhead there at the end. That was good. It was good.
And the Ferengi are fun because other races seem to be more drawn from ideals, or maybe so obviously like the Romulans are more historical examples, like the Roman Empire. The Klingons seem to be somewhat like samurai based.
Mm-hmm.
The Ferengi are more of like a critical look at ourselves.
Corporate overlord.
Like, what do you think? Sorry,
the liquidator's got to just be like a tax man, right? He comes in when you're overdue on your bills, and he sells all your shit
He's the
And,
IRS. I
yeah,
mean, that's essentially what he is. That's why everybody hates for him to
hates him.
show up.
Yeah. So I liked the labial rejuvenation surgery that Boogie went to get.
My lobes haven't been this firm in decades.
Oh man, that was good. But
Uh,
yeah, and my wife was watching this one with me, and she's like, "Why do they all look like inbred and just goofy and silly?" And I was like, "That's kind of how the Ferengi have just always been portrayed. Like they're the butt of a lot of jokes, and you don't take them too seriously because they act like this, you know."
I still struggle with the thought that they really were, when they were introduced in TNG, they were meant to be this like fearsome foe for the Federation
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that failed utterly as a
Yeah, well, it was
With their
TNG's.
plasma whips and all
It was
that.
TNG's first shot at creating, the big adversary.
Mm,
And, of course, they later kind of hit the home run with the Borg. But even though Star Trek has gone to the well a lot of times in the Borg, they never really, in my opinion, they never were able to do as much interesting with the Borg as they ended up doing with the Ferengi. I mean, the
hmm
Borg, by lacking any sort of soul or real motivation beyond just to assimilate, they ended up kind of feeling stale after
Well,
after the
that's why
novelty
they
wears
ended up
off.
having to basically turn the Borg on their head and,
Right.
create the whole concept of a Borg queen just so that they have, a personality.
Yep.
Um, they were a well-made a good villain that they went to too many times.
Yeah. Yep.
Because each time you go to them, it gets thinner and thinner.
Right.
Um,
Well, the terrifying thing about the Borg is that they have no, they have no base desires.
mhm,
there's no, it's not bloodlust or, you know, thirst for treasure. It's, everything they're like locusts. They just
mhm.
destroy everything and assimilate it into their own culture.
I mean,
They're unknown. They don't know how to deal with someone who has no wants or desires, who's just a hive mind and no
mhm,
individuality. And the more you learn about them and you take that away, it just starts to fall a bit flatter. And of course, the first time that you face them, there's also this almost air of invulnerability around them. But after you
mhm,
beat them 3 or 4 times, that starts to go away. And, you know, it just becomes less and less terrifying.
mhm,
But the Ferengi, by having, the actual opportunity to build some depth into them, really became a much more interesting well to go to.
mhm,
And like even little touches like about how we learned that Ferenginar is always like damp and muddy
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and rainy, so like that's why they love to eat slugs and snails. And
Yeah.
speaking of Futurama connection, isn't Sluggo Cola? Isn't that I could have sworn that that was a Futurama thing too. The Ferengi drink the Sluggo Cola.
Do they?
Yeah.
I don't
I
remember it from Star Trek. I do remember it from Slurm. They called it
Okay.
Slurm,
Oh, okay. Maybe
okay,
that's what
yeah.
I'm thinking about.
but it was literally just like uh, a secretion from the mother slug,
Hmm. Which is what I assume Sluggo Cola is too.
probably.
Maybe I'm conflating the two, but I can totally see that being a Ferengi thing since they're always talking about eating slugs and snails.
But like but the banter and everything, the back and forth over negotiating everything, right? Like it was fun, right? And how Nog couldn't get anybody to do what they wanted. Quark's like, 2 slivers of latinum to the first motherfucker who gets there, and they all just take off running, right? It's like they're so shallow but with nuance, So
It's fun.
it was fun.
Good. I'm glad y'all enjoyed this episode. A little more lighthearted than Rocks and Shoals.
A touch. Yeah.
Sluggo Cola contained 43% live algae in every bottle. It looks like Slurm.
All right.
So, what's your favorite episode out of these 3? I'll go to Willie first.
For me, I'm probably gonna go with the Magnificent Ferengi.
Okay.
It was fun, and I did not like Picard. I didn't care for that. I enjoyed Strange New Worlds. But now that you've got, I'm not gonna say, but probably now that you've got the big reveal about what they were there to stop, it probably lost a little bit of its luster. I'd still appreciate the Easter eggs and all that. But like we've talked about before, when a show doesn't take themselves too seriously and just has fun with it, like the Magnificent Ferengi, like I would probably, the reason that I have seen that episode is because it's such just it's a fun episode,
Yeah.
So,
Warden, what's your pick for your favorite out of these 3?
I'm gonna say the same thing. I mean, it's just the Magnificent Ferengi is just a good episode. It's fun. I did genuinely like the Strange New Worlds episode, but it was kind of in the middle, and I think in large part I'm just wasn't in a better mood for something. Excuse me. I was in the mood for something a little lighter when I watched it, so it didn't hit me quite so favorably because but I did like it. So, and then Picard was, I mean, it's not bad, but yeah,
not good.
Yeah. How about you?
I feel pretty similarly. Honestly, Magnificent Ferengi, it's fun. It's not one of my favorite. Well, I mean, it's not like in my top 5 or 10 DS9 episodes, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it, especially after watching Rocks and Shoals again and remember what a dick Keevan is. So it's really fun getting to see him get his eternal reward. Honestly, it's pretty close for me between it and Strange New Worlds. Tomorrow. I'm actually gonna go with tomorrow, just because I do really I didn't love the plot, but I did think it was a good Lon episode, and even though I'm not sold on Kirk yet, I like Lon as a character, and getting to peel that onion a little bit, I enjoyed that part of it. So it's real close for me, but I'm gonna go with Strange New Worlds. Probably a little bit just because I don't want us all to do the same thing. If I'm being honest.
I mean, that's fair. I make that calculation from time to time as well. So,
all right.
For an episode to earn a clean sweep, it has to be unambiguously good. And
yeah. Yep. I mean, I could go either way, but the lasting character this tomorrow I feel like is more important as an episode for La'an.
That's fair.
All right. So we'll be back next week with more episodes of Star Trek. We'll watch probably 3 or 4. We'll watch the next episode of Strange New Worlds and the next one of Star Trek Picard. And I'm sure we'll pick 1 or 2 classics. Does that sound good for everybody?
Sounds about right.
Sounds
Upvote.
about right. What, Willie?
I said upvote.
Upvote. All right. Enjoyed it, gentlemen. Warden, disengage.
This is Biblio Warden, Joe Bob, and Mr. Willie signing off.
I would like the show to stop now.